What's up everyone? This is Derek from EV1 Poker and I'm here to show you stats today. So going over into my stats for EV1 Poker, this is a really good place to start. You notice right away on the top of the screen that stats are split by the different game types. So in another video I covered the different game types that we have. You have practice and you have ranked, and then within ranked you have turbo and you have normal, and obviously you have practice and you have practice turbo. The reason why these are split up is because we think about how your rating is measured is by the game type. You might be really good at turbos but not great at normal. You might be really great at normal levels but not great at turbos. So we don't think it's fair to mix all those games together. So this is why you get a different PSkill and you get different tier progression based on the different games. The game that you have the most volume in, the game that you play the most, is going to be the first tab here that you'll see, and it's ordered basically by the frequency in which you play games. So I play ranked turbo the most, but I also have a couple of games here of ranked normal. So let's go down into the stats. So in your season rating box, you'll see your tier and PSkill. These are basically two of the primary concepts of what progression looks like in EV1 Poker. So PSkill again is poker's answer to chess elo. Just like you climb all the way to a grandmaster in chess, you can climb all the way to the Doyles, is what I call it, in poker. And PSkill really measures how good you are in general at poker. It takes into account variance, and it'll be a little bit confident about your results until you're normalized a little bit. It factors in your competition. So there's a lot of different things that it looks at to measure your PSkill. It's based on Microsoft Research's TrueSkill algorithm, which is meant for multiplayer games. Just for your information, ELO is really meant for 1 versus 1 games, which is why it's there for chess. So PSkill is now poker's ELO score, and by playing EV1 Poker, this is where you can build your PSkill. And there's also tier progression. If any of you play competitive video game, things like Valorant or things like League of Legends, you notice that you're able to climb through these metal tiers before you get into like Diamond and Platinum and up into things like Ascendant in Valorant. So this is the same thing here. You can climb through the tiers. Bronze 1 is the bottom. You go to Bronze 2, Bronze 3, Silver 1, Silver 2, Silver 3. Obviously, you get the most points for first place. You get the least points for 6th place, because we always play 6 places in a 9-handed game. And if you finish 7th, 8th, or 9th, you actually lose points. And the reason why we need you to lose points is because we need people to take this game seriously. If everyone just there's no ramifications to losing, everyone can just start jamming all in, and it really defeats the purpose of playing poker strategically if people are doing that, which is why so many free to play poker games are just not really interesting or very strategic to play. But that's what the tiers and PSkill are in EV1 Poker. The more games that you play, the more that you climb. And then there's all these other different metrics like the in the money percentage, and again, it's 67% seems really high because typically in tournaments, real life tournaments, you get paid somewhere around like 10 to 20% of the field. But really what we're doing is we're paying or giving points to the top 6 places. This bar tells you what your progress is to the next tier. So because I'm in a Bronze 3, Silver 1 is going to be in the next tier, and I only need 5 more points to get there. You notice 3-game protection is active, so I do some things to protect you. So as soon as you jump into a new tier, which is typically going to have better players than what you were just playing with, I give you 3 games of protection so that you can't drop below this tier. So basically, if you get your butt kicked for 3 games, I'll make sure that you don't get dropped into the tier below. But after that, it's kind of a free-for-all. You got to start proving yourself once you get used to those new players. The best rating here is, EV1 Poker operates on season. So there's a new season every 3 months, and all of your stats are accumulated within a season. So here we'll track your best rating from any season lifetime. So, right now, because EV1 Poker just launched, my best tier is going to be my current tier, which is Bronze 3. My best PSkill is going to be my current PSkill. In the current season, it's March 26th. But as we get more and more seasons and you start getting highs for PSkill and highs for tier, you'll see that tracked here. And you can also click the View Season button to go and look at your previous season's performance. And then here's sort of the meat and potatoes of the stats. So you can split your stats by season or the past 90 days. We only store data for up to 90 days, but it'll tell you how many total games you played again in Ranked Turbo this season. how many wins you have. I have 6 podiums in 15 games, which is pretty good. So podiums are obviously first, second, or third place. And then there's something called point concentration, which really measures, are you actually getting all your points in just a couple of games, or are you getting in a lot of games, right? So it's basically there to measure consistency, right? Are you sort of a kind of a one shot, I just came in first place like twice and I finished in 9th place all the other places, or am I kind of finishing in the top, top 3 or 4 all the time? Those are 2 very, very different players, and that's where the point concentration comes in to help measure some of that. Advanced Analytics is now a pro feature. So I talked a little bit before about our different subscriptions. So you can play poker forever for free on EV1 Poker. You never have to pay a dime. And players that have upgraded to pro get no advantage over you whatsoever, other than getting these advanced stats to help themselves improve their game. And I would definitely recommend, I don't think pro is actually really that expensive. These are extremely useful stats to have, but again, these are only accessible to people who have the pro subscription. Here you have games, you have VPIP, was voluntarily put chips in pot, and there's little help tips here in case you don't remember what I'm saying. If you ever want to see what any of these stats mean, but there's pre-flop raise, how often do you raise pre-flop, how often do you 3-bet pre-flop or re-raise somebody, how often after somebody 3-bets you do you fold, or so how often do you fold to a 3-bet, how often do you continuation bet or c-bet, how often do you fold to continuation bets, and how often do you go to showdown. Right, so this is WTSD stands for went to showdown. This graph shows you how your scores in terms of how often you play pots, how often you pre-flop raise, how often you 3-bet, compared to what GTO recommends. If people aren't familiar with GTO, it's called Game Theory Optimal. It's a way of playing poker which keeps you least exploitative as possible. It's incredibly powerful information, incredibly powerful software that teaches you how to play poker. But here I'm going to make it easy for you and let you know if you're playing outside of GTO recommended ranges. And again, GTO isn't sort of the end-all of poker strategy. There's a lot of different styles, so you play more aggressively or a little bit more passively and you win. You know what, stick with that. But I still think it's important for you to understand where you sort of land in terms of what GTO recommends for you, because this is how you can spot leaks and find different ways that you might be able to focus on things to improve. And basically, hopefully the graph is pretty basic. There's a low end, there's a high end, there is the optimal, the little lighter part here. So for VPIP, as an example, GTO recommends 18 to 22%. Right now, I'm at a pretty low VPIP to 12.3%. This is actually probably a function of me sort of always working and playing on EV1 Poker at the same time, because I'm kind of working on stuff and trying to answer people. So I probably am not playing this with my 100% attention all the time, but I think after we get EV1 Poker, I get EV1 Poker off the ground, I'll be able to take a little bit more time to really work on my PSkill and really work on my tier progression. But if you click here on the View Full Stats dashboard, if you're a pro member, you'll also be able to compare yourself to the top players on the site. So how are your VPIPs and PFRs and your 3-bets compared to the top 10% of players across the entire site? Because the top players also have very, very good frequencies, obviously, and that's why they're top players. You can also see trends. So how is your VPIP and how is your PFR and your 3-bet and your folded 3-bet and your continuation bets? How are they trending over time and across games, right? So have you been really working on, let's just say, increasing your c-bet percentage, right? So you can see, is my c-bet percentage really doing anything? And I think c-bet's probably a bad number to use here, but let's just look at pre-flop raise. Let's say you want to be a little bit more aggressive pre-flop, and you can see then here from this graph how you're trending over time. Are the improvements that you think you're making actually doing the things that it should be doing? You're going to also look at hands, and this will go through all of the hands that are making you the most money in terms of top winners and top losers, the ones that are most frequent, right? So unfortunately, I seem to be playing ace-9 off a little bit too frequently. It's not a fantastic hand. You can see I'm losing, about 58 BBs. And then in terms of positions, this is also really important. So obviously in poker, you want to play less hands in early position, more hands in late position. So this tells you how many hands you're playing, what your VPIPs are across all of them, so you can see what the distribution is, big blinds per 100, and chips in terms of how much you're winning or losing, which positions obviously are you playing a little bit more aggressive than you need to be, or maybe playing a little bit more passive than you should be. mistakes. So I made no significant mistakes this week, but if there are things that we categorize as mistakes, and you'll see here, it's going to be things where you kind of overcommitted, put too many chips in a pot with a weak hand. Did you make a loose call? Did you make a bad bluff? So this is where your mistakes will show up if you have made any mistakes in your games. And then also you have aggression stats, and this basically tells you how your overall aggression frequency is, right? Your aggression factor is how aggressively you play overall. Higher means you bet and raise more, lower means, the opposite. And then you can also see how this is working across the different streets. This is probably where this is most important. So a lot of really cool information here in terms of advanced analytics. So this is, I think, a really good reason why I would recommend you upgrade to Pro, because you're going to learn a lot about yourself and learn a lot about the game. And that's my stats page. I'm going to quickly touch on the My Games page. So the My Games page basically lists for you all the games that you played, your entire history. You'll see that the drop down here is set to all games, but you can filter for rank normal. So rank turbo is the one that we're playing the most. So if I filter for rank turbo, you'll also see how I've been in terms of climbing tiers, how I got from bronze 1 to bronze 3. So it looks like I was doing pretty well over here to make a jump through bronze 2 pretty quickly. Bronze 1 I was stuck in for a little while. You can see how my PSkill is moving up and up and up, which is great. So I'm already up to 1542 here. And then if you click into the analysis link, this will then show you your game analysis. Game analysis, so this tells you, what place you finished in, what was your PSkill difference here, what was your RR change for your tier progression, how long did it take, then it tells you, the different number of hands you played. So I think for this one, I only played 3 hands, it looks like, as I was probably just like testing something and then just let the game go. But you can also look through your hand history. So just look at hand number 22 if that was something interesting to you, or hand number 59 if that was something interesting to you. And this is broken down very similar to Poker Tracker if you're familiar with them, or format their hand histories to format hand histories in ways that people are familiar with. We're going to have AI reviews soon and a little bit more leak detection stuff soon. And these things are likely going to also be Pro features. So make sure that you're considering that Pro upgrade, because it's going to give you a lot of really, really good information. So leaderboards are really only for players that have reached Master 1 or higher. So there's Master 1, Master 2, Master 3, and then you hit Legends, which is really the highest tier in terms of all the bronze, silver, gold type of progression. The reason, a lot of video games do this as well, because I think one gigantic, massive leaderboard isn't very useful when you're like player number 376,000 or something like that, right? So typically what they do is they have leaderboards to the very, very top tiers, and then the top players within those tiers. If you ever get up into Master 1, this is where you can see some of your leaderboard stuff, but I am going to think through and talk to the community about how how are there some different ways we might be able to measure like player of the season in different ways that doesn't have to be tied to the very top tiers. If you have ideas, please reach out to me, hit me up on Twitter at QuansFull, or shoot me an email at derek@ev1poker.com. Okay, so that was a little bit of a longer video, but that covers all of our stats. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I will see you at the tables.